Hi everybody, I got a little bit of a treat for you today. This is, as you can see, Street Masters. This is a game that I have talked about recently on my top 100 games. It is a very enjoyable arcade-style skirmish co-op solo mode beat-em-up thing. The idea is that very much like those games like Double Dragon, Streets of Rage, and all the like, you essentially take control of various characters which can range from a taekwondo kicking lady to a Rio Street Fighter hands like flames type brawler to a giant panda warrior. You name it, you can get it in this game. It is basically taking a lot of those sort of Japanese arcade game style tropes and shoving it into a pretty easy to play board game with a ton of variety that exists now with all the various expansions that have come out for it. Now, this was originally done by Blacklist Games, but there was a little bit of problems with the publisher.
That's putting it mildly, 007.
They went under, and effectively the last Kickstarter was kind of lost in translation, really. Well, Steamforged Games have now picked up that Kickstarter and are essentially going to make sure that backers get what it was they were after, but they're also reprinting it with a new expansion called Lament of the Dragon, which is going to introduce more content to the game. So, of course, more content for a game that already has a box that's about this big, is certainly nothing to scream at. But what they're doing is a nice little crowd sort of sourcing little gimmicky campaign here, which involves this little character right here. Don't worry, I'll show the 3D render on the screen so you can actually see it a bit easier. But what they're allowing you as the community to do is to name this character. This character is going to feature in the new expansion, and at the moment he just has a generic name of Iron Hand. The most generic name I can think of in history. Yeah, we're not keeping that name, okay? That is a lame name for a boss character. And as you can see, this guy kind of looks a bit like, well, essentially like a dwarf. He's a dwarf with knuckle dusters, it seems, or at least giant gauntlets with spiked bits on the knuckles. So, I mean, I wouldn't call them knuckles. It's probably copyrighted. But, he does basically look like a kind of Deep Rock Galactic style dwarf or whatever, with, big muscles. He's ripped, he's jacked, he's got big sort of like collar, like clothing braid things around his neck. And obviously the classic beard that a dwarf character kind of looks like. And, it's a pretty menacing looking character. Well, you get to name him. So, what you essentially have to do as a community is put your comments down below with a suitable name for this character. And then what I want you to also do is not only suggest your own name, but I want you to look at the other names that people have suggested and thumb up the ones you really like. And so what will happen is effectively you'll be able to scroll down the list of comments and see 100 likes for this one, 60 likes for this one, and the like, to see which names are the most popular. What I will then do is curate the best ones from them, so the ones that have had the highest amount of votes, subject to a couple of restrictions, and I will pass some of these names on to Steamforged Games, who are doing this with other content creators as well. You might have noticed Mark Dainty Not Board Gaming has done something very similar on his channel. And so basically these names are going to get pulled together and Steamforged is going to pick one. So you might be the one that actually comes up with the name that features in the actual copy of the expansion for this game, for Iron Hand here. We are so replacing that name so fast. But there are a couple of little caveats. Firstly, obviously, keep it family friendly. We don't want crude, ridiculous names. We don't want profanity or anything like that. So obviously keep it, keep it normal, right, as a name. But also, this is meant to, as much as this is a kind of, tongue-in-cheek, arcade, homage-style game, still try to keep the name somewhat normal, a name that you would actually have for a character. So calling this guy, Fighty McFightface is not an option, okay? So those ones will get written out. We're not going to accept stupid names like that.
King Explosion Murder.
So try and come up with something cool that fits the character. I mean, it basically does kind of look a bit like a big brawler, and obviously the brass gauntlet and the gauntlet knuckle things are obviously his kind of signature weapon. He's a dwarf, or at least looks like a dwarf. He's certainly got that typical hairstyle and face and that. So by all means, check it out and see which name you can come up with. Let it in the comments below. I look forward to hearing your findings, and we'll let you know, presumably Steamforged will let us know which name gets picked in the future, and I'll give a shout out if it's anybody from my channel. So let us know your thoughts in the comments, and best of luck to all of you. But until then, the Kickstarter for this comes out in barely just a few days. It is literally on the horizon as we speak, and I wanted to get this video out before I went on my little cruise holiday, so I could leave you something to have fun with while I was away. But Street Masters is a really fun game. I love it. I mean, playing it multiplayer is already a good fun, but I love playing this as a solo game just to whip out a boss buffs, minions, choose a character, simple card deck, choose a map scenario, and just go at it. And I love these games that can just give me a quick scenario that I can play for good laughs that don't have to be like a giant campaign or anything. That, that always gets on my nerves. So I look forward to see, how Steamforged handle this Kickstarter. I'm just kind of happy that more people are now going to be able to actually get a copy of this game, because this one was kind of hard to find. I mean, even this one was basically done on eBay from somebody who was selling it in Nottingham. I had to, get my friends to travel all the way up north in order to grab it. So it's not something that's easily found. Well, hopefully Steamforged can now bring this back for the masses and other people can enjoy it as much as I have. So that's it for me on this video. If you like what you see, then please thumb it up and let us know your choice of name for this character. Don't forget to vote also on what other people have said if you like their suggestions, but also just let us know in the comments what you actually think of Street Masters. Is this a game you want? Is this a game you didn't like? Do you love it? I'd just be able to get your thoughts on the game itself would be quite fun reading as well. Until next time though, remember, regardless if you like to eat turkey dinners out of trash cans, it's still only a game. Bye for now. And I'm sure some of you got that reference.